Happy Egg Day! Here are some fun facts about our eggs. How thick an eggshell is depends on the age of the laying hen. Chicken earlobes, yes, chickens have earlobes, can predict what color egg they will lay. You can see how old your eggs are by testing their buoyancy. That's how well they float. It indicates if the egg floats, it indicates the egg is old and has a large air pocket, in which case you should pass on eating it. Eggs are one of the few dietary sources of vitamin D. The hen's diet determines the color of the yolk. Some producers feed supplements like marigold petals so their hens will lay eggs with brighter yolks. Cloudy egg whites mean that the eggs are extremely fresh, while clear egg whites are an indicator of older eggs. Cloudiness of raw white is due to the natural process of carbon dioxide that has not had time to escape through the shell and is an indication of a very fresh egg. And of course, here is an egg. You've seen me crack it and kind of take it apart, where you can see the shell and the inner membrane and the yolk and the egg white. So I'm going to do 3 experiments using some brown eggs. The first one is going to involve soaking several eggs in vinegar between 24 to 48 hours. The vinegar is going to react with the calcium carbonate of the shell, and that's going to dissolve the shell. Carbon dioxide is given off during this reaction, so you should see bubbles of gas escaping. Next, I washed both eggs, and you can see this one is slightly green, and that's because I ended up soaking one of the eggs in a little bit of green. That's for later on, so when I do the experiment you can see the difference. It was quite challenging to rub the shell off, and I ended up leaving some of the shell on the top and the bottom of both of the eggs. So you have to be very, very careful because you want to get rid of the shell but leave the inner membrane without rupturing the egg, because this is a raw egg, it's not a boiled egg. So I wanted to test how well the eggs could absorb liquids. This is called osmosis, where it absorbs the liquid through the membrane. So I set up 2 glasses. One of them just has regular water, and that's the green one, and you can see that the egg is at the bottom of that one. The other glass has brown water, and that's actually mixed with brown sugar. The egg in that glass actually floats because the water with the sugar in it is denser, and so the egg has more buoyancy in that glass. So I soaked a 3rd brown egg in vinegar. I actually did this one for 2 days instead of just 24 hours, and I was able to remove all of the outer shell, but I kept the inner membrane, and you can see through it. It is a raw egg, and you can see the yolk and the whites inside. And when you do this, you get rid of the shell, then you have this kind of rubbery egg, and it's very bouncy and squishy. And I rolled it around the tray, and eventually I wanted to discover how high I would have to bounce it or let it drop in order for it to break. So I started experimenting with that, and eventually I bounced it so high that it bounced off the tray onto the floor and broke. So you can see that it really was a raw egg. So my next experiment involves getting an egg into a bottle. This is a boiled egg, and it's still the brown egg, but it is boiled. You're going to need an adult to help you with this one. But what you do is you have a bottle that has an opening that is smaller than the egg. You light a piece of cardstock. This was an index card. And you put it inside the jar, and then you very quickly plug the jar up with the egg. Voila! Egg in a jar. So when I heated up the air inside the bottle, it changed the air pressure. So when I plugged up the opening with the egg, the air pressure outside the bottle was greater than the air pressure inside the bottle and pushed the egg down. So I compared the size of my 3 eggs to see if what I had done to them made a difference in their size. So I have the boiled egg, the one I soaked in vinegar for 2 days, and then the 2 eggs that I soaked overnight in water. And green egg and the brown egg really should have been different sizes, but I really couldn't see a big difference in them. However, when I poke the 2 eggs, there is a big difference in what happens. And this shows me that even though size-wise, visually, maybe there's not a lot of difference, the green egg was able to absorb more water. The brown egg is not as full, even though it looks as large, because the water with the sugar in it was more dense, and it was more challenging for the skin of the egg to absorb that water. You can see my little green egg's got a little fountain going over there. And lastly, I decided to test my green egg, which is now very rubbery from the vinegar. Remember, there's no shell in this egg. That's just the membrane, the inner membrane. I wanted to see how high I needed to drop it to break it. Not very high for this one because it didn't soak as long. Well, I hope you enjoyed our extra special video. Come visit us at the Sci-Tech Discovery Center when we're open. Have fun!